Simba, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. So fundamentally, like you, I'm a maker. I'm someone who loves to design things, loves to make things. So I technically though, I'm a product designer slash engineer. And I do a podcast, much like yourself, called Luxury News Weekly. I also am the founder and CEO of a jewelry storage company called Volo Bespoke, where we create the world's best jewelry storage, not your average grandma's box, So yeah, that's a
So,
little about.
what inspired you in your life to start creating your bespoke luxury accessories?
Well, I think it fundamentally came from me wanting certain things that I couldn't find in the market. And because I have expertise in rapid prototyping and I have access to 3D printers and laser cutters and that kind of thing, I decided to make them myself because I wanted to see certain materials being used, a certain level of quality. It was only natural that I went toward the luxury because realistically, there's nothing luxurious about it, in my opinion. It's just how I think products should be made, you know? And it just so happens that because of mass consumption and us having to create things at a very large scale, we have to cut costs in a lot of areas and cut quality in a lot of areas. And we just got used to that. So now, if you don't do that, it's luxury. So that's kind of how I gravitated towards the luxury space, just having beauty, good design, solid engineering. And that's where we ended off.
Nice. Were you always interested in the fashion industry, or was it something you fell in love with?
So my education is in mechanical engineering. So there's nothing fashion about it. Engineers are not known for dressing well. So that wasn't it. But my sister actually went to school. She has a degree in fashion design. And my mom, when she was younger, was very involved in fashion. She was even a model at one point. And so I grew up in a household where the way you present yourself is very important. I learned the hard way because originally I did not know how to dress well. Now, usually people compliment me for dressing well, but that's just the result of growing up in my family. But I will say, though, I've always had appreciation for design. And once I realized the design in the fashion world, then that automatically interested me, you know? So yeah, there are some brands I really admire.
Who and what brands would you say inspired your vision for Volo and your appreciation for the fine details in products?
It has to be hands down Rolls-Royce because they make a car that's the best in for what it's supposed to do. It's got the best performance for what it's supposed to be. It's got the best build for what it's supposed to be. But they don't sell any of these features. They sell the feeling of it. They sell how it's made for you, how it's made for your lifestyle, and how that is a landmark for, okay, I've done well for myself. I get this car now. So they are definitely a huge inspiration. You can actually go on YouTube and watch some of the videos of how meticulous they are about even the leathers in their car. They had a story where a man from Texas who owned a ranch was like, this is not real leather. The reason being, he had never seen leather before with zero imperfections. Even if there's a mosquito bite, they don't let it pass.
Mhm.
So it's crazy. And then the second brand that I would say inspired Volo's vision is Apple. And Apple, not for the products they make per se, but for the ecosystem they build around the products, because everything stands on its own well and it works together well. One of our visions is that we want to create products that you might buy for the jewelry you have, but then it'll create an ecosystem where they work together, where the earring holder will work with a stud holder, or the ring stand will work with the watch stand or the cufflink stand, or so we create an ecosystem that fits your lifestyle. If you're traveling, you'll have the travel pack that works with the stay-at-home standalone stuff. So that kind of ecosystem is inspired by Apple.
It's an interesting point that you bring up that Apple's ecosystem was your inspiration, because I recently read the Steve Jobs biography. And if you read that book, it tells you how meticulous he was about every detail. There's a part in the story where they built a fake Apple store before what we know today. And they were like days away from launching it. And Steve Jobs was just like, you know what? Like, this isn't it. Like, this can't be. And they delayed the launch for 6 months. Everything is pinpointed for your experience. It's very interesting because a lot of people see Apple as a tech company, which they are, but I think what they're truly are an experience company, because you don't just buy their products, you buy the mission, the beauty of the products, and how well engineered they are.
Yes, and how well they work together. There's this thing where, like, for instance, I was hardcore Samsung, and then I got an iPhone, and it was fine because at the time, when I got the iPhone, it was, I think, iPhone 10. Samsung had very similar offerings. So I didn't notice any difference right there. But as soon as I got a MacBook, my world changed. And it was because I had them both. Now, I'd never seen that kind of integration between two devices. And every time they update it, it becomes even more and more well integrated. And that's why I'm saying that ecosystem, there's an argument to be made that Apple might not be the best device maker of a particular device. You pick maybe just a phone or just a laptop, but they are unbeatable when it comes to ecosystem. Just unbeatable. I don't think there is a company on earth with a better ecosystem than them. And that's why I believe, even though I love Tesla, if Apple makes a car, I think they could win, because it's not about the car. It's about the car, your laptop, your phone, your watch, your iPad, your whole life at home and where you're going to work. It's going to be connected. And that's the vision. That's the mission. I want Volo to be the same.
Were your parents ever like hesitant with you creating Volo, or were they like supporting you all the way? Because you are from Zimbabwe.
Yeah, Zimbabwe. You see, Zimbabwe is an interesting place because when I was growing up there, everyone's very educated, even like I'm saying, I went to school for mechanical engineering. My sister's got 2 degrees and finishing a certification. My mom's got 2 degrees and several, diplomas, so it's like everyone's very well educated. My aunt has got a doctorate and all this. But the thing is, the country is very entrepreneurial. And I think that's very a thing of an African thing where you see yourself, you aspire not to work for a big company, but to start a big company. So you get your education first, and then you work a little bit, and then you start your own thing. So my parents were very supportive, my mom especially. And the only issue she had was it getting in the way of my schooling, right? That's the only thing Zimbabweans don't like. It's like, do your school first and then be an entrepreneur, Yeah. But I would say overall, very supportive.
How long did you live in Zimbabwe? Were you born and raised, or were you just born and then moved to Toronto where you currently live?
No, I was born and raised, and I lived there, I think, till I was about 12 or so. I lived in South Africa as well for 3 years, Zimbabwe most of the time, and then Canada the rest of the time. I've been here like half my life. So it's kind of, now I've been in Canada longer than I've been anywhere else, but not much longer.
Do you think that living in Zimbabwe helped shape your current views, or do you think you'd be on the same path if you were straight born in South Africa or born in Toronto? Or do you think that mentality of having parents who were in a country that, I feel not many people actually know Zimbabwe, but Zimbabwe is very underrated. And I mean, hearing it from someone who's like, oh yeah, like this is a very entrepreneurial country, it sounds like it's a very almost like small America, where it's like you have these aspirations of building something bigger than what you are.
Yes, a lot of Zimbabweans leave and start businesses in other countries or get educated in other countries. I think we were one of the only countries at the time, one of few at least, that had more citizens outside of the country than in it. like we're an expatriate country, and also having the country kind of collapse in the 2000s, the mid 2000s, didn't help. So we
Yeah.
all left, but we were all educated. So we could leave, and get hired and work other places, start companies, etc. But that mentality stayed. So when you ask me if it shaped me 100%, if I was born in Canada and in Toronto, it's like this. If I was born in Canada, you are very content because life is pretty good here. It's pretty easy to get by off of just living a simple life. You don't, the government is extremely supportive. We've got free healthcare. We've got a ton of programs. So you can get by just fine. I don't think I would have had the pressure in the back of my head to want to pursue anything more than just getting a good education and then going to work. And I still value going to work. Even now, I would still work at one of the companies I admire, but I know what I'm doing there. I'm there it's an education, not a job, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's the main difference is how I see that being employed and what it's for. Yeah, that's the main difference.
Are there any individuals, both from your home country of Zimbabwe and also from outside, that inspired you to keep pushing the envelope?
I would say probably my biggest inspiration has to be my grandfather, actually, on my mom's side. He was a great man. He has accomplished a lot, and he's so interesting, a real people's person. He lived a very interesting life, and he passed away when I was young, but still old enough to have very good memories with him. He inspires me the most because it's kind of like he showed me what the potential of my DNA, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's much more meaningful because it's so close than it is with a celebrity or someone I have zero relation to. And I've had good mentors, I'm not going to lie, but it's just different when it's your family. Yeah.
Yeah. I I can definitely relate to that because I would say some of the inspirations that I have are from my parents and from my grandparents, that they're like what they experienced gives me the energy to pursue what I'm doing now. But then there's
Exactly.
always those like outside people that you're like, oh, like this person's vision or mantra sticks with me. So we've talked about companies that inspired you, but let's go and see what companies you think are having trouble with their vision. And just because I know how much you hate this, let's
Yeah.
specifically talk about the Audemars Piguet Black Panther watch.
Audemars Piguet really slipped on that one. If it wasn't AP that made that watch, I would have no problem with the watch. But it was just such a betrayal of their brand for Disney, and the awkward design. They had like the tourbillon bang smack in the middle of Black Panther's legs. That man, yeah. And then they used the Marvel cartoon font for the numerals. It was, I mean, yeah, it was just a lot.
So, other than that specific example, give us your top three flops in the fashion industry.
Top three flops in the fashion industry. I'd have to broaden it, I think, maybe to products in general to think of this out just off the top of my head, right? But okay, Balenciaga has got several just on their own. But if I was just to pick one, because fashion industry, I would the Balenciaga sagging pants, where the pants were sewn together to look like you're sagging with boxes on. Yeah, that was just like such a no for me and for a lot of people. So that's one. Chrome Hearts collaboration with Rolls Royce. From the outside, I actually kind of liked the car. And when you open it, Chrome Hearts threw up in the inside. It was disgusting. So that was a fail. And that was a really big betrayal to Rolls Royce. That's the first time I was like, you know what? I didn't think they could stoop so low. But every company has its flaws. You live long enough, you accomplish enough. I'm sure you'll make something that people don't necessarily like. And then if I had to pick a third one, I mean, we already did the watch. So that would be my third, to be completely honest. So we've got a
That's
watch, a car, and some joggers. That's it. So, all these brands have inspired me because they've touched my. I don't own a Rolls Royce, but I know it through advertise. Well, not even advertisement, through like it's spreading its message. So Balenciaga does that, but they just do it in a way that I don't like agree with, but
mhm.
it still works for some people.
Were but if people wanted to follow your journey, what are some social media platforms that they can follow you on to see not only your personal growth, but the growth of your company and the growth of your podcast?
Definitely. First of all, you can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. I keep all my handles kind of the same name, just my full name, Simba Wakatama. Simba Wakatama. I usually show up if you just type in Simba W. I'm usually the top one. And yeah, and there I have links to my other handles as well. My company's handle, Volo Bespoke, that's VOLO Bespoke, and then Luxury News Weekly podcast. And yeah, but again, if you just follow Simba Wakatama, those handles are all in there already, so it's easy to find.
Well, Simba, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure not only getting to record this, but to catch up with an old friend and a fellow co-creator of Luxury News Weekly, where we had a few,
Absolutely.
we had a good few episodes with me in there. But
Yeah, we did. We did. Clubhouse was a whirlwind, but it was a fun time. Yeah. I'm very happy to see that you're doing the podcast off of there as well. Thank you for having me.
no, my pleasure. Thank you so much for coming.